Well, now here we are for this part of our program today on this wonderful first Saturday of August with my good friend Vince Lopes. And
Good to be here, Will.
yeah,
Good to you.
Vince is a scientist, a hydrologist, and we teach together in sustainability at Texas State. Today we're here, we're going to start with what Vince calls shallow ecology.
Yes.
So tell us what you mean by that.
Well, perhaps to give you an idea what I mean by shallow ecology, I also have to talk about deep ecology. So shallow ecology is, I say, is the common mainstream approach used in the scientific department at universities to address ecological problems.
Yes.
So it's based on the idea, and this has a lot to do with the primary way of thinking of science, which is the mechanistic, dualistic. One of the consequences of the mechanistic thinking is there is a tendency to look at things as problems that can be fixed,
Yeah.
like a mechanism.
Yeah.
So there is this tendency in science that if there is a problem, something is perceived as a problem, like water pollution. And when it's perceived as a problem, there is a way of solving it. And perhaps, in my view, that is why there is so much hope from society, believing that whatever the problem that we have to face in the future, problems associated with environmental problems, we will be able to solve. Because there is this notion, this tendency to look at the world, the natural world, as a mechanistic system, and therefore things are perceived as problems, and as they are perceived as problems, there will be always one approach to solve it.
Okay. Now,
So
hold
this
on.
is the shallow ecology.
Okay. So here we are, and in the background here you can see a bridge,
Yes.
and this is a problem that we who live around here in the Blanco River Valley, if you see that bridge, we're on the shallow side of it,
Yeah.
but it's actually a little over 50 feet from the river itself to where these cars are going over. And about 2 or 3 years ago, we had on Memorial Day, we had a flood, and the waters came down this river and came over the top of that bridge. So that means you had a 5-story building of water that went over the top of the bridge. This is a problem.
That's a problem.
And this community has done well, but it's your position that the consciousness of solving a mechanistic problem is just going to set us up for this to happen again.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about other possibilities.
And the flood, I think humans fail to recognize that the event, the flood, is a hydrologic event with a high amount of water that comes to the river. But the consequence of the flood has nothing to do with the hydrology. It has to do a lot with humans.
Okay.
Because the consequence of the flood depends primarily on the type of land cover in the watershed, depend on the type of work that is done in the channels, depend on the type of houses, how close they are built into the river, in the floodplains. So as with the expansion of urbanization, so humans continue changing the land cover in the watersheds and building houses very close to the river in the area that we call floodplains. And as a consequence, in the occurrence of a relatively large event, there will be catastrophic consequences.
Right, and the other piece of that is that we have climate change. And so when you have a large amount of water, and just last year, Hurricane Harvey, just a couple of hours down the road, dumped 50 to 60 inches of water in one event. And no matter what we do with solving dams and so on and so forth, the consciousness that says we don't have to really attend to climate change is a form of consciousness that perpetuates the problem.
Yes, because we always believe that whatever consequence or the magnitude of climate change, we always will see it as a problem, and that problem can be solved with the science and technology that we have.
Right. Okay, so deep ecology. We're going to illustrate right now what we say deep ecology is. So at the shallow level is usual thinking.
Yes.
But as we go, we're going to walk down here, and as we walk down, we're going to go deeper into our consciousness and to possibility. So let's do that now.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to watch our step here. And like many shaman of old, we're shamanic science inquiry. We go down into the depths in order to find a form of consciousness to retrieve possibility. And I'm watching my step. If I fall down, we'll edit that out. I want Vince and I to just put our hands in the water here for a moment. And let's say, Vince, that I propose the idea that the water of this river is trying to speak to us in some way about a global situation. Would you buy that hypothesis?
Yes. I think there are different ways of interpreting what you said, but I think if we look at water by itself, the way that water behaves, just has a great lesson for us.
So let's assume that there's actual information embedded in this water and in the water course.
Right.
And the information is latent there, and the water itself is trying to help us heal Mother Earth, heal ourselves. But we don't know. We don't know exactly what it is, do we? Right. And if we get to the bottom of science, we have to acknowledge that we really don't have all the answers that we need.
I agree. I think there is a message there, but the message is coded in such a way that we have to develop the susceptibility to understand and grasp that message. And in my way of understanding this, one way to grasp that message, to get the communication, is to become one with the water. In other words, is to dissolve the dualism between the observer and something observed like that. So as long as this dualism is there in our consciousness, we will be unable to catch the message that the water sends to us. So we have to first go beyond this dualist framework of science to operate in a pre-science mode, perhaps, and be able to dissolve that dualism and become one with water. That stage, or state, I believe we'll be able to connect and read the message, find out what the water is trying to tell us.
Right, and so what I want to do now is invite all of the people from around the world to join us here at the riverside. A song comes to me, gonna lay down my troubles down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside, gonna lay down my troubles down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Okay, so now I would like to put some water on your head as a way for you to become one with this river. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
And as I put this water on Vince's head, I invite all of you out there to join me in the experience of becoming one with the water. Aho, sacred water, sacred spirit, give us your message and allow us to humble ourselves. And then I'm going to ask you to baptize me.
Oh.
Aho, aho. And so right now I'm going to lift up some water, and as it goes through my hand, feel it coming on your forehead wherever you are in the world today. And know that this water has message and truth and information for how we can develop a oneness with the water, and the water will tell us the way through. But the fact is, we don't know right now, do we?
We don't, because again, as long as we stay in this dualistic stage, we will be unable to communicate not just with water, but with nature in general.
Yes.
My approach to the process of communication is I approach through nature itself. So I believe water is one of the aspects of nature that is trying to tell us. But I also believe that the message also is coming from the trees, is coming from the soil, coming from the rocks.
Yeah.
So this message is everywhere around us.
Yeah.
And if we become one with nature, we will be able to read or receive that message, which obviously is not spoken in English or any other human language.
Yes, and I think that's a good place to stop, except to say that when this water came over to the top of this bridge, our cameraman and our sound woman here had water come up to their waist in their house. And many people said Mother Nature is angry with us. But it's not that water and Mother Earth is angry with us. It's that the water and Mother Nature is trying to tell us, these are the consequences of your lifestyle.
Yes.
And so we, at this deeper level of consciousness, today, can make a decision to be open to altering our lifestyle for a more sustainable world.
And what you said, Will, is what in some way changed my approach to hydrology. Because I grew up looking at water in hydrology as problems out there that we should solve, because I was training to this mechanistic approach. However, now I know that these are not problems. Are problems because they are perceived dualistically. So
you come from a mechanistic point of view to this point of view of becoming one.
To become one, I realized that the difference between my approach when I was deeply driven by this dualist perspective and my current approach is I still see it as a problem. But the difference is now I put myself into the problem. And previously the approach was there is a problem, there is always a problem out there, and you are the one outside the problem that wants to solve it. Obviously, based on what you have said, the water, the earth, the water is trying to tell us that we are not behaving well. But as long as we don't put ourselves within the equation to the problem, we will be unable to understand that message. And we will continue to work on this problem perceived out there, which actually is not the problem, because the problem, in my view, is up here.
Right, and so our baptism is to put ourselves in the context of the river. And when we do that, maybe we can get some information on a way forward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hey, how about a hug?
I don't